Now, the Special Tribunal is reviewing the 431 million rand that the Gauteng Basic Education Department spent decontaminating schools after the state of emergency was declared last year. The national state of disaster, rather, was declared last year following the outbreak of COVID-19. 280 service providers were hired to sanitize schools in Gauteng. However, it's alleged that 173 of them were not on the department's database of service providers. This allegedly makes their appointment irregular. The Special Investigating Unit, that's the SIU, is now asking the Special Tribunal to set aside the contracts and recover money from these service providers. Tracking that story for us is eNCA reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who's joining us live now in our studio. Good afternoon, Pule. The defense opposing is arguing that the companies complied. How does this back this up?
Definitely. So out of 280 service providers, the SIU alleges that 173 of them got business through phone calls and WhatsApp, and that they did not comply. They were not registered on what you call the CSD, Central Suppliers Database. So you remember, Bratan, to be on that base means you're eligible to do business with the state.
Yeah, it means you've gone through the vetting process.
Exactly.
You've been verified as a legit business.
Definitely. Now, 173 of them were not there, and only 7 of them complied. But these service providers are blaming the Department of Education for the deviation process. They say, we complied with what was before us, and we followed the criteria which says you were not supposed to be on the CSD system, and therefore you can have business, which was allegedly awarded via WhatsApp and phone calls. And that's where this whole conundrum actually escalated, and we are seeing this backlog right now. I want you to take a listen carefully to what one of the senior counsels representing the service providers, Hilton Epstein, said.
National emergency and in a crisis, they're not able to get competitive bids. Yeah. So they get a deviation. Unfortunately, the terms of the deviation didn't stipulate what they should have done, but it didn't forbid the state from setting a price. And there may well be times, I often get briefed by the state attorney, I get told what my rate is. It's not what I normally charge. And I must just either live with it or decline the brief. There's no negotiation there. And I accept that, and sometimes one does it as a national service, and sometimes one does it, that's the cost of doing business with the state. You have to accept some of their terms. That doesn't mean it's not competitive, certainly not comparing one legal service provider's rates with another. They say that's the rate. And here our people, all these respondents were phoned up and told that's the rate. So there's nothing sinister in that, and one shouldn't read too much in it.
Okay, but this bite is from a different senior counsel. What were they talking about there?
Definitely saying there was nothing sinister as to how they approached this business method, or as to how they were awarded some of these tenders, or rather business to sanitize some of these schools. They're also arguing that it is very, very, very cautious, rather unpredictable, that the SIU brought an application, but it was not a joint application with the Department of Education. They are asking, why is the Department of Education quiet in this matter? Why are they not saying anything? They are querying why the acting chief director as well hasn't said anything about this and hasn't brought the affidavit before the Special Tribunal court as well.
The SIU, what are they saying?
Well, the SIU is basically saying that these appointments were, of course, unlawful, and that the criteria was set straightforward. You need to be on the Central Supplier Base database, and for you to actually be able to be a competitive bidder, you were supposed to comply with these requirements. Apart from that, they want to recoup all of this money because they are saying these service providers were charging 27 times more, and it was really unlawful what they did.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how can you charge like that? I do know that from having spoken to Kaiser Khanyago before I let you go, Pule, that the SIU is dead set on recovering the money. They believe this was all irregular. Also, you've just mentioned the overpricing thing. Even if the defense, they're claiming now, the service providers, that they were following a set criteria, they didn't know anything. Why is the Basic Education Department not in there? overpriced.
The SIU is quite adamant that the horse is bolting, and they know that there are top officials in the Gauteng Department of Education who are allegedly, role players behind this, and they're trying to get answers as to who are they and why do they remain mum on the situation. But most importantly, they are adamant, like you've just said, that this money will be recovered, and that they are adamant that it was channeled through unlawful means to service providers who actually use this for self-benefit and not to save lives.